All right, 1 second here. All right, we're on holding by the book of Leviticus chapter 18. Again, we're on holding by the book of Leviticus chapter 18. We are in verse 2. And the we spoke last week, right? We spoke last week about God making decrees and the fact that does God need servants in order to make decrees, right? So the Torah says, again, verse 1, by the Bereshit of Moshe Lemor, God spoke to the Jewish people. Or let's say better, God spoke to Moses saying, verse 2, and this is our verse, the Bero B'nai Yisrael, V'amart alehem ani Hashem Elokeichem. Right? So God says, speaking to the children of Israel, speaking to the Jewish people, you're going to say to them, I am the eternal your God. Right? So Rashi says, what does it mean? You are God, so to speak. It means that God is God with kingship we accept. Right? Jewish people accepted God's kingship, and God said that we should do whatever we should do, and we are obligated, right? We are obligated to keep it, whatever he says. Now, Rashi said further that since I am God, you're going to accept my decrees. And it was known, even in the days of Ezra, Jewish people would eventually revolt, right? Restricting sexual relations. We spoke about that. And therefore, they came to with the decree emphasized by the words, I am the Lord your God, right? Understand it well that who it imposes this decree upon, i.e. the judges, whose function is to punish, but who is certain, God is certain to give reward. So what do I learn? What do I learn from Rashi? Spoke about this last week, right? We saw that Rashi says that God has the ability to reward and punish. Right? Now, you'll be surprised. This question comes up. How do you know? You say, oh, the Rambam says, in the 13 principles of faith. What does the Rambam say? He says God rewards and punishes. All the 13 principles incumbent upon Jews to believe in. If they don't believe in it, unless they repent, they're in serious trouble. A non-Jew doesn't have an obligation to believe them. I think it's a good thing. I would say it's a moral imperative that non-Jews should believe in them. Otherwise, they don't necessarily have to. For Jews, it makes a Jew a Jew. So therefore, if a Jew doesn't believe in any of them, resurrection of the dead, coming of the Messiah, Moses, the greatest of all prophets, reward and punishment, unless the person repents, you would lose your portion of the world to come. These are fundamental principles, right? So we said before, if someone was going to say, come on, you really think God's going to burn you? Good, it's a good question. How does the soul feel like it's being burnt, right? How do you burn something that is spiritual, right? That has no form, right? Legitimate question. It doesn't mean that soul can't feel it, right? The soul feels it. Now, I never met anyone been in that world to come back, as my Rebbe would say. But at the same time, to say that it doesn't happen, that's heresy, right? That for sure is heresy. Now, what the soul feels, I can't answer, right? I can't answer. But I would say that, if God can do anything, which he can, right, to create the world from nothing. So if God can create the world from nothing, I would assume, since he created the heaven and the earth, right, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, God created the heaven and the earth, right? So if God created the heaven and the earth, and he created everything in the heavens and the earth, then what happens? That means he's in charge of spiritual forces. That means he controls spiritual forces. It means spiritual forces do not have free will. Now, if they don't have free will, can God knock them around? Yeah. What does it feel like? I can't answer. Right? Doesn't mean they don't feel it. Right? Doesn't mean the soul doesn't feel it. How are we supposed to understand it? Good. It's probably Kabbalah 101, right? Or 101A. But soul feels it. If we talk about the fires of Gehenna, right? The fires of hell, you can say, well, maybe it's the metaphor. I don't know. Why should it be a metaphor? Right? Who says they're not going to feel the pain? They'll feel the pain. Now, again, legitimate question. How does a spiritual being, a spiritual soul, feel fire? Good. It's a good question. Right? That's a good question. It doesn't mean they don't. It doesn't mean there's no reward and punishment. It doesn't mean God loves everyone. Not true. Right? King David says in the book of Psalms, I love those that love you. I fight against those that hate you. So there are people God hates. Right? The four groups of people God will never see in the world to come. One of them is habitual speakers of Lashon Hara. Now, even though everybody, seemingly sins in the laws of Lashon Hara, right? When someone doesn't change, somebody's not working on it, right? Someone just doesn't care. They have what I would call a diary of the mouth. They just talk, right? They talk. They don't care what they say. They don't care who they say it about, right? That's habitual speaker of Lashon Hara. So, people like that will not have a portion of the world to come. So, obviously, there are people that God doesn't like. Now, again, we want to make it sound like, God's all loving, God has a lot of compassion. He does. But keep in mind, 80% of the Jewish people didn't come out of Egypt. The Jewish people get severely punished, you see, throughout history. We do the right thing, God is with us. We do the wrong thing, we're in trouble, right? It repeats itself over and over again. So how could somebody say there's no reward and punishment? God loves everybody. You see that's not true. Because the Torah talks about evil people, right? He talks about evil people. So if the Torah talks about evil people, there must be people that rebel against God. And people don't want to keep Torah mitzvahs, right? So if that's true, they go against God. So why would God love them? So, does God want them to repent? Yes. He wants them to go in the right way, right? And if they don't, God's going to punish them. Whether he's going to punish them in this world, the next world, both worlds, they're going to get punished, right? And it's clear as day. You open the book from the book of Genesis all the way to the end of the book of Deuteronomy. It's very clear. You got to do what God says, period. If you don't, there's payback. Now, you need fear of God, as we always say. Fear of God doesn't necessarily lead to love of God. Love of God will lead to fear of God. But you have to love what you do. You can't just do things. The lowest level of fear of heaven is the fact that a person's afraid they're going to fry now forever. That's the lowest level. Absolute lowest level. So with that, we all have what to work on. But a person is not going to love to keep Torah mitzvahs, right? If they're not going to love to keep Torah mitzvahs if they, they don't love what they do. Why would they? And meaning they're not going to keep it They're not going to keep it if it's all about, well, I'm just going to get punished. God's just going to whack me around. There's no fun in it. There's no enjoyment of it. Okay, life is hard. Everyone agrees, right? No one disagrees life is hard. Some people may seem to have it harder than others. Okay. But we're in this world to toil, right? As we mentioned many times. So we say every day, second paragraph of the Shema, we say, if we do the right thing, we'll have water, we'll have food, God will take care of our needs, beautiful. If we do the wrong thing, we get punished. Okay, depends what, where, when, how, where the person's holding. A lot of factors involved. Right? But at the end of the day, God can still have mercy. Doesn't mean he has infinite mercy. Right? Doesn't mean that. Certainly not. Right? But at the same time, you got to believe there's reward and punishment. That is part of one of the 13 principles. Now, it could be, person say, I have difficulty with it. It's hard to deal with. Suffering, other things, very good. Right? That could be true. That doesn't make you arrogant. That doesn't make you a denier of God. If a person, went so far as to say, no, it's not true, it's all random, this and that, based on what they've gone through, right? We'll cut some people some slack based on what they've gone through. Okay. If that Jew doesn't apply to a non-Jew, if that Jew doesn't repent, they lose their portion of the world to come. So it's Emunah. There are issues in Emunah, right? When everything's going good, person got a fat bank account, everything's good, seemingly good, no one's got questions. No one has any questions. Yeah, it's only when things go sour. Only when things are hard. Then everyone's got all the questions. Right? But what does Rashi say over here? So Rashi says, I'm the Lord your God whose kingship you accepted. You, the Jewish people, accepted on Mount Sinai. And therefore, you accepted it. Tough luck. You're the only nation that accepted it. Okay. You accepted me. I accepted you. Beautiful. And now you got to keep what I say. Right? To the best of your ability. I got to tell me the Choshen says, come on, we don't even do a third, a tenth, a quarter of what we're supposed to do. Right? Not even close. Right? Not even close. So you're going to say, why bother? I'm just going to get punished anyway. Okay, that's one way out. So I'll get punished more. Okay, I'll deal with it later. I know a person wants to deal with it later. Right? I would say that as difficult as things are, okay, we got to be better. We got to be better. We accepted the kingship of heaven. When we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, we accept, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. We accepted God's rule. That's what we're doing. We're accepting one God. We're accepting the fact that he runs the world, that he's in charge. That's what we accepted. The entire Jewish nation for all generations. Never been changed, never been adulterated, finished. That's what we got to do. You got to listen to the rabbis, whatever they tell you. That's what you got to do. Then you say, to love the Lord your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, etc. That's taking on the yoke of mitzvahs, right? I speak, the laws of prayer about the Shema, go into more detail, right? But essentially, what are you doing? You're taking on the yoke of heaven. What is the yoke of heaven? God is one. God is unique. God doesn't change. That's the yoke of heaven. And that he runs the world. He intervenes in history. But what's the yoke of mitzvahs? I take on what God tells me I have to do. It's a good thing. He gave us a book, manufactured himself, pass it down to Moses, pass it down to us. Very good. Right? Nowhere does it say it's going to be easy. There's payback. There will be payback for things you might have done, things your soul has to go through, different things. Right? So then we dealt with the question, if God has no subjects, is he still king? Right? If man was not created, right? That gets to the whole question, does God need us? Really doesn't. 100% he doesn't. We're not going according to Webster's 8th definition. He doesn't need us. Gives us the ability to tap in to his world. Very good. So if he doesn't need us, why did he create the world? He created the world, the Ramchal says in the introduction to Path of the Just. He created the world because God is a Mektiv. God wants to give of his goodness. If God wants to give of his goodness, very good, because he couldn't create it for himself. Why not? Why not? The Ramchal says very clear, God has no needs. First of the Rambam's 13 principles of faith. God has no needs. If he has no needs, he didn't create the world for himself. Could not be. Goes against logic. Totally against logic. He must have, he has no needs. So therefore, he created for us. Okay. So we have to learn how to tap into it. Sometimes easier, sometimes not. Whatever it is. But we have to learn how to tap in. So the question is, if he didn't create man, God's got a lot of things that are programmed in the world, right? He's got stars, moon, things in the heavens. He's got things in this world, right? He's got animals, plants, right? They're programmed DNA. Even if animals decide they want to eat, they don't want to eat, it doesn't really matter. They only have one aspect of the soul that's called the nefesh behemoth. They have the animalistic soul. Humans have the animalistic soul, right, as well. In other parts of the soul, very good. But animals don't change. They don't go out of their nature. Well, we saw they went out of their nature by the by the Mabu, by the flood, because man had influence over animals. So animals mimic what man does. You don't really see that today, right? There was a case a number of years ago where two pelicans and two male pelicans were trying to mate in San Francisco. Okay, yeah. So you can say, well, that's not true. That shouldn't happen, right? Shouldn't. Man's influence today is not the same as it was at the time of the flood. Okay, so good. There's a question on that, right? Very good, but spent a long time discussing this. If God's not create man, because we're the only ones that have free choice. So if we have free choice and no one else has free choice, let's say God didn't create man. God didn't create man, probably would have been better for the world. God didn't create man, very good. So God didn't create man. Is he still king? Still king. Even if everything else is programmed, right? So that's what we spoke about. Comes along the Ibn Ezra. Now the Ibn Ezra over here says, what does it mean? Remember, the Torah says, say to the children of Israel, and say to them, I am the eternal your God, right? I am the Lord your God. What does that mean? Comes on the Ibn Ezra and says, that's the condition, I am your God. What does that mean? God is God because we accept him as God. Because we saw him at Mount Sinai. Because we keep his mitzvahs. Now, you could say, if we didn't do that, is he still God? Still God. Remember, you go back to Genesis, right? You go by each day, right? God, it says first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day. So I get those part of the numbers are easy, right? Then it says the sixth day. What do you mean the sixth day? Tell me a sixth day. Why are you telling me the? What's the hey in front of it? The sixth day, right? So Rashi over there says, on the commentary says the same thing. God, the whole world was in flux when God created it, and he looked at it. So he says, anyone going to accept my Torah? Jewish people going to accept the Torah, very good. Then everything got solidified. But what does the hay represent? What does the sixth day represent? Right? What does the sixth day represent? 6 of Sivan. What 6 of Sivan represent? Given to the Torah, Mount Sinai. Right? The sixth day, the seventh day, discrepancy exactly which day it was, doesn't matter. Right? But it says the sixth day. So God understood, since he knows past, present, and future, he understood there's going to be a people who's going to accept this Torah. Who's that going to be? The Jewish people. But if he didn't have the Jewish people to accept the Torah, there's no point for the world. The world, people like it or not, right? What the anti-Semites say. Everything, the Jews think they run the world. Jews think they're in charge. God says we're chosen people. Very good. We're only chosen to do what he said. Right? When the Torah is going to tell us, that God took us out, he differentiated between us and everybody else. Right? Talking about kosher laws, right? Kosher laws of what we're allowed to eat, not allowed to eat, right? Which animals, right? And which, fish or whatever. So God says, I distinguish between you and everybody else, certainly by what you eat. God didn't take us out of Egypt so we could eat shrimp. So a person can eat lobster, all kinds of garbage. I didn't take you out for that. I took you out to distinguish you amongst the Jewish people. What's one thing that's going to distinguish you amongst everybody else? Exactly what you eat. That's going to distinguish you. That's going to make you different. There are other things that make us different also, plenty of other things, right? Isn't that what Haman, Mr. Haman himself said? There's going to be a people out there, spread about, around the world, this, that. They don't do what you say. They don't keep your same laws. They don't eat your same foods, right? Jewish anti-Semites say the same thing. If we would be like everybody else, non-Jews would love us. Won't be any more pogroms, no more Holocaust. I don't think so. Where'd you learn it out more than anywhere else, right? In recent history, the Holocaust. Because you see, the Germans, most sophisticated people at that time, and the people that joined the Third Reich, at the beginning were not skinheads of today. Who joined? Doctors, lawyers, accountants, right? They're the ones that joined. Academics, right? We see things haven't changed the last 70 years because they can't even say that genocide is bad. It only depends on the context, right? So you got the cream of the crop saying, yeah, genocide's not a problem against the Jews. I wouldn't say it about anyone else. Say it about Jews, very good. So things haven't changed. But we accepted God, he accepted us. God becomes king, we accepted him. So if we accepted God as king throughout, that works for all generations. If that works for all generations, Jews born as Jews have no choice. They have no choice. They have to keep what the Torah says. Now, can somebody decide? Can somebody decide they don't want to? Sure. They can opt out. 100% they can opt out. Probably going to see plenty of people, this coming week. People that opted out. Yeah, opted out by choice. Oh, I shouldn't say by choice. Didn't matter to them. Being a Jew didn't matter to them. They'll say, well, it's important, I'm very Jewish in some ways. Very good, but not the most important way. And what's the most important way? You marry someone Jewish. So someone once told me many years ago, I said to them, basically that, yeah, it's forbidden to intermarry. So I asked, this Jew a little more traditional than most, I would say. So I said, but why is it forbidden? Why is it forbidden for a Jew to marry a non-Jew? I was like, what do you mean? Of course it's forbidden. I said, why? What do you mean? Not a good thing to marry a non-Jew. I said, okay, now you're homophobic. Why? Why? Give me a good reason why you shouldn't marry a non-Jew. So then the person flipped the script and says, well, you also believe a Jew should marry a non-Jew. Very good. So he said, why? Right? When you can't answer, you ask the same question. You just throw it back to the other person. Okay. So I said, you want the answer? Oh no. So before that, I said, oh, so you're racist. That didn't go over so well. So what? I'm a racist? Jews should marry non-Jews. I said, great. Tell me why. If you don't tell me why, you're a racist. You say Jews should marry blacks, Chinese, anyone else. Why not? What's the problem? No offense to any of these groups. What's the problem? Why should it be forbidden? As I saw the smoke coming out of this person's ears, it's okay. So why do you say it's forbidden? I said, you want to know why I say it? I said, okay. Bible says it. God says don't do it at least half a dozen times. At least. The worst sin, probably one of the worst sins a Jew can do. If not the worst sin. One of them. Right? At that point, when a Jew marries a non-Jew, they're out. There's no way to repent unless the other spouse either dies or they get divorced. Right? So I had a discussion with someone over Shabbos. They're like, well, they don't know anything. They grew up as a potato farmer in Idaho. Right? That was my language. Right? They didn't know anything. No offense, anyone's a potato farmer grew up in Idaho. They grew up knowing nothing. Okay, I said, you're right. But that doesn't give them a free pass on everything. On certain things, yeah. So they'll get judged as if they did it by accident. Okay, this is not one of them. This is a red line. Major red line. You marry out, you're out. Now, how do you repent for that? Very hard to repent for that. Every time you're intimate with this person, you're over Torah prohibition. It's forbidden. That's what the Torah says, right? You know, someone can say, well, maybe it's only for that generation. Maybe it's only for the, the generation going into the land and this and that. I said, okay, give me an answer. Give me something, give me a Medrash, a Gemara, something, that says it's okay, right? So the person says, you're a fanatic. I said, beautiful, of course I'm a fanatic. Come on, right? Gearing up. This is me gearing up for my trip coming this week, yeah? So people say, you're a fanatic, you're this, you're that. Beautiful. So give me an answer. That's not an answer. If you were debating, you get an F in debating. That's not an answer. Oh, you want a name call. Okay, I got plenty of things I can call you. I'm not going to do that, right? That's not an answer. That's not an answer. So that's one of the worst things you can do. Now, there's no way out of that. Unless the person either non-Jewish spouse dies or they get divorced. Okay, so then at least they're not over the prohibition. Very good. But we accepted what the Torah says. Period. It's not a 5-year option to renew. It's not if I feel like doing it, I don't feel like doing it. And people will say, I've had a number of people say this, caught an attitude and said, it's just too hard. So since it's so hard, I'm going to go for an easier conversion. Right? See, for a Jew, you're stuck. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You're stuck. So for a non-Jew, okay. They don't want to convert. They don't have to. They say, I want to go for this is an easier conversion. Okay, maybe it's true. They said if the Orthodox would make it easier, it'd be one thing. So I asked them, very good. I asked them if that is true, right? Right? I asked them if that is true, what would you take out? What mitzvahs would you decide to take out? Kashrus? Shabbos? I know. Family purity laws. Oh, that's a good one to take out. We'll take that out. Kind of hard. Yeah. Probably harder on the guy than the woman. Okay. But we'll keep this clean. Yeah. So which ones do you take out to make it easier? And even if you would say, I would agree, which I don't, but even if I would agree, let's make it easier. Does it work? Can you pass that down to the masses? You look at the reform movement, you look at the conservative movement, 60, 70, 80% into marriage. Doesn't work. Imagine 7 out of 10 times someone's going to intermarry, let's say, or 6 out of 10 times. You want to tell me you got a 40% success rate? That's not so good, right? It's even less than that, right? If you're unaffiliated, it's even higher. It's like a 10% success rate, or 20% success rate. I heard a story. Rabbi Talbot, blessed memory, told me a story a number of years ago, many years ago. He said in Denver, Colorado, there's a lot of Torah going on there, right? There's yeshiva there, there's a girls' school there, there's Jewish outreach going on there. There's a lot of going on there. 85% intermarriage. This is 20 years ago, probably more. 85% intermarriage in a place where there's a lot of Torah going on. That's disastrous. Imagine, using, in baseball terms, imagine someone's batting $115. He's probably the shortstop, can't hit. Yeah, he's batting $115. He, unless he's a shortstop or some other position that they absolutely need them, they don't care if he hits or not. Good. Yeah, if that's anyone else, they're finding someone else to hit. $115 ain't good. Hitting 200 ain't good either, right? It's certainly not good. Or you take a pitcher and you say 1 out of 4 times he wins the game or he keeps the team in the game. Also not good. This is a recipe for disaster. Absolute disaster. Single biggest problem, right? Outside of, total assimilation, lack of education. That's where it comes from. But people don't think there's anything wrong. This person's a very nice person. I never said they weren't, right? Unless they aren't. Okay. Even if the person's very nice, that's not their issue. It's not a non-Jew's problem. Does a non-Jew have a problem being with a Jew? No, not at all. Certainly not a problem. And you even see today, you got presidents' kids married to Jews, right? I think Clinton's got one. I think Bush has one. Whatever. The joke about just mention Trump here because people probably turn me off at this point, right? What's the difference between Trump and a Reform rabbi? The answer is Trump's grandkids are Jewish because he got a daughter that converted, right? No joke. No joke. I mean, fact is greater than fiction. But anyway, imagine having the president of the United States and your Shabbos good. Oh, Grandpa, sorry, the light went on. Oh, can I turn it off? No problem. The president, whatever you think of him, doesn't matter, right? You can have him come and turn off your lights, right? You're doing the right way on Shabbos. Oh boy, it's dark in here. Oh, should I turn it on? It's a riot. If you think about it, yeah, you got the top person in the world. Whatever you think of him doesn't matter. He's gonna be your Shabbos guy. Beautiful. Ironic, right? God's irony. Anyway, I digress here. But the point is, God is king because he told us and gave us the Torah. So if he told us and gave us the Torah, says Ibn Ezra very clearly, he says, on this condition, I am your God. What's the condition? What's the condition? The condition is he gave us the Torah. We have to abide by what he says. That's the condition. In other words, even at creation, God created everything, and then it says the sixth day. Beautiful. When it says the sixth day, what did God do? He said, okay, everything's in flux until I see in the future someone's going to accept the Torah, because I created the world for what purpose? To accept the Torah. Someone has to accept the Torah in the world. Comes along the Jewish people, they accept the Torah, beautiful. Then everything gets solidified. Everything in suspended animation till that point. Once that point goes by, the whole world now is okay. The whole world can now function because there's someone in the world who's going to accept the Torah. And that is really the whole point, right? That is the point of creation. The point of creation is God's word is going to get out there. How's it going to get out there? Because he's going to speak to somebody. He's going to give someone information, right? Someone's going to come along. It's going to be in a very high spiritual level. God's going to work with them. God's going to teach them. He goes, hey, give this over to my people. That's what he's going to do. But not only that, since we accepted it, God says, you accepted it, good. But maybe it's not so good because there's so many things to do. And if you make mistakes depending on what you did, what's God going to do? You're going to get punished. There's reward and punishment, right? Comes along with Shulei Diskin. It's the Rav of Yerushalayim, 4.5 centuries ago more. And Rav Shulei Diskin, he was actually the Rav in Brisk, right? Before he came to Israel. In any case, Rav Shulei Diskin said, as my Rebbe brings down the story, he said, if the Torah would not tell me they're evil people, I would never believe it. How could someone go against what God says? As a Jew, how could it be? Now, I would add a very simple answer. Because what did God create with us? Also a evil inclination. So therefore, you got a battle between the body and the soul. As we always say, if you do the right thing, you elevate the body, you elevate the soul. If you do the wrong thing, you debase the body, you debase the soul. Constant battle. He didn't know there's an evil inclination. He didn't know people could fall because, they get carried away and who knows what. Of course they understood that, right? Wouldn't have needed me to tell him that. But he said, if God spoke, and this is what we have to do, very simple. Forget Kabbalah, forget anything else, right? Very, very simple. God said this is what you have to do. If you don't, you're in trouble. He said, but how can a person go against that? We're not programmed. We have an evil inclination. Everyone's got an evil inclination. But that's part of the relationship. The relationship is you do what I say, I'm your king. You don't do what I say, you're going to get punished, but I'm still your king. It goes both ways, right? Wouldn't it be easy if we just, we get all the praise in the world, all our needs taken care of, nothing to talk about, even if we do things wrong? Why should that be? That's what we want. We want everything to be easy. We want all the benefit, no work, and not get punished. Well, it doesn't work like that. God is king because we accepted him as king. So if we accepted him as king, says Rashi over here, we accepted it as king. What does that mean? You have to keep what the king says. That's what you got to do. Sometimes it's easier. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes we're more inspired, less inspired. A lot of different things going on. probably all at the same time. Yeah, life can be hard, no question. But the Ibn Ezra here says very clear. He says that's the condition. That's the condition. You say, if a person's born a Jew, well, you can say, okay, we have no choice. Either we're going to keep it to the best of our ability or not. Or maybe keep it a little bit, whatever it is. We have no choice. Of course you do. You can opt out, right? Go to a different religion, do nothing, marry a non-Jew, right? But essentially, that's our obligation. We have to keep what he says. Now, non-Jew also has to keep what the Torah says, right? According to what is nogea to them, what applies to them. The one thing that Noahides don't realize, right? We'll pick on Noahides here for a second. What do Noahides not realize? They say, we're going to keep things that make sense rationally. That's not good enough. Rationally, according to the Torah, very good. Still not good enough. They have to keep the Noahide laws based on the fact that God gave the Torah to Moshe on Mount Sinai, and he codified the laws of Mount Sinai, the Noahide laws. Now, how many non-Jews that keep the Noahide laws acknowledge that? They should. 100% they should. If they don't, they're in trouble, because then they're keeping things that say, make sense to me. Forget it makes sense to you. It doesn't matter if it makes sense to you or not. That's what you got to do anyway, right? That's what you're obligated, but only because God passes down to Adam, Adam passes down to Noah, and then Noah passes down to Abraham, whatever. They got codified in Mount Sinai. That's the reason they got to keep it. That's the main reason. If they're keeping it on their own based on the fact that this makes logical sense according to the Torah, that's not enough. 100% that's not enough. Right? So the Ibn Ezra says this is the condition. Right? So a Jew in general, they should look into their own religion. They shouldn't be going anywhere else. Right? Dalai Lama, people had, connections with Dalai Lama, found out that they were Jews, said, go to Israel. He said, I have nothing to offer you. Imagine. The holy Dalai Lama tells Jews, listen, we got nothing to offer. Go learn in yeshiva. So Dalai Lama sent people to learn in yeshiva. Dalai Lama made a few shidduchim, made a few matches, and Jewish men up there, Jewish women up there, and he's the one who made matches. Crazy. I always say fact is greater than fiction. Dalai Lama. Right? Certainly idolatry, it's no question. So imagine, he had a merit. Now, this is, in my opinion, for what it's worth. Yeah, imagine half a person dies after 120 years. They get upstairs. God says, oh, look, let's look at the first part of your life. Wow, pretty bad. You got involved in this, you got involved in that. You got involved in idolatry over here. Oh, look, you ended up in Tibet. You ended up with an audience with the Dalai Lama. Yeah. And the Dalai Lama, what did he do? The Dalai Lama said, I have nothing to offer you. Sent you to yeshiva. You end up meeting your match. Right? Dalai Lama set it up. Now, I would say, my question would be, is that a merit for the Dalai Lama? Right? Why would I say that? Because Buddhism is idolatry. I think according to everybody, right? It's not even a question, right? It's idolatry. Okay, right? So you met your spouse through the Dalai Lama. God's going to say, okay, you get all these mitzvahs. You get all this merit. Listen, he did a lot of good things, but you had to go through the Dalai Lama. God said, don't worry, I'm going to deal with him, right? I'm going to deal with it. But does the Dalai Lama get schos? Does he get merit? Right? He's idolater. But he put you on the right path. Should get some credit, probably. But if I were God, right? Thank God. I'm sure a lot of people are happy I'm not. Right? Put on my funny George Burns glasses, my funny mustache, and what would I say? What would I say personally? I would say, wow, beautiful over here. Beautiful family, generations, learning Torah, mitzvahs, blessings, but you were brought close by the Dalai Lama. Of all people in the world, the Dalai Lama brought you close. Now, I can have my split personality and say, it doesn't matter. So what if the Dalai Lama brought you close? right? They will give him a little bit of benefit here and there. He's still toast. He's still going to be in serious trouble. Very good. But I could hear in theory, again, my opinion for what it's worth. I could hear God saying, okay, you get a lot of credit for your mitzvahs, no question. Look how much you turned your life around. Look, look where your kids are, your grandkids, great grandkids, generations. Unbelievable. Now, is that a bad spot on their soul because they came through it by the Dalai Lama? Now, some people would say, what's the difference? Whoever did it could have been a priest, could have been someone else, right? That really, we're going to say that's really, a merit for them. They get credit. They get credit. Imagine the Dalai Lama saying, I have nothing to offer you. He's Moed Emes. He agrees on the truth, right? He admits the truth. Let's say better. He totally admits the truth. And he says, I have nothing to, help you with here. You're a Jew. You have to go learn in yeshiva. The Dalai Lama, the guru of gurus. And he's telling a Jew he has to go learn in yeshiva, and that person becomes religious. Amazing. Fact is always greater than fiction. So my question would be, should he get the merit? He's still an idolater. No question. But the fact that he admits the truth worth something. It is worth something. Even before the Dalai Lama, go way back. From the time the Egyptians are running after the Jewish people in the sea. And what happens? God makes a plague of darkness there. They can't see. The Jewish people are able to escape. But what do they say? They say their God is fighting against us. They're Moedal Emes. They admit the truth. Because they admitted the truth, they had the ability to be buried. Why? Because when we sing the Song of the Sea, it says they came on dry land. They got spit up on dry land. Why? Why not let the fish eat them like Bin Laden? Throw them overboard? Plenty of food. Right? Look at all these people, thousands of people running after the Jewish people. Plenty of fish food for a while. They're going to feed the fish for a long time. Why give them a burial? A burial is worth something. Why don't they get eaten by the fish? So the commentaries say an unbelievable thing because they were Moedal Emes, because they admitted the truth that God was fighting against them. They had the merit to be buried. Now let's ask the $1 million question. $1 million question is, we would never say that. A human would never say that. After everything the Jewish people went through, and all the suffering, 80% of the Jewish people did not get out of Egypt. 80%. They deserve to be buried because they admitted that God was fighting against them. Okay, so what? He admitted. Very good. Maybe give him a little bit of credit. Maybe. But they're still liable for death penalty. God has them destroyed. Their whole country gets decimated. They get killed. And Pharaoh has to watch it. He watches the whole thing. And God keeps them alive in order to do that. And after that, where does he go? He becomes the king of Nineveh. Kind of big demotion, if you think about it. Because what happens? He's the king of the world power at that time. The world power. No one ever escaped from Egypt. Egypt got totally decimated after that, gonzo. Becomes the king of Nineveh, the big city. Very good, the big city, not the world empire. Yeah, but he had to witness the whole thing. He had to witness them getting destroyed in front of his face. So when, in the book of Jonah, Jonah comes and says, God, the Jewish people is going to come and destroy you if you don't repent, and he warns them, he got the message. He got the message the hard way, but he got the message. They all repent. They all sit on the floor. They're all wearing sackcloth, even animals. They got the message. That's mind-boggling. The fact they had a death sentence on them. The fact that Egypt was supposed to be destroyed. And it was. The fact that they admit that God is fighting against them, that gives them merit to be buried. It doesn't save them. It sure doesn't save them. What does it do? It gives them the ability. It gives them the ability to be buried. That's compassion. It doesn't offset judgment, the final judgment, but that's a level of compassion. We would never say that. We'd say, let the fish eat them. High in protein. Right? We'll make all the fish survive for years. Beautiful. Get thousands of people. Why let them be buried? Because they admitted the truth. That gave them a merit. Mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. So the whole point of what we do, we keep Torah mitzvahs, is because God gave the Torah Mount Sinai. That was the condition. So who's going to take on the mantle of Torah mitzvahs? The Jewish people. God went to all the nations. They all rejected it. Very good. Right? Comes on the Jewish people. They say, not seven Ishma. We're going to do, and then we're going to hear. Then we'll hear what it has to say, what the Torah has to say. But that's the condition. That's exactly what Ibn Ezra says. On that condition, I will be your God. I'll be your God if you accept my commandments. If you don't accept my commandments, right? 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 God only wants me if I'm going to do what he says. And I'm not going to do what he says. Okay, we have that choice. But the entire Jewish nation accepted the Torah at that point. Right? That is what the Ibn Ezra that's what the Ibn Ezra says. Yeah, a lot of questions here. Let's see. Someone here mentions, person got a new job, very good. Requires me to miss lighting candles on Friday. That's a problem. That is a problem. So now you're going to say, well, I have to take the job. Okay, it's a good thing you're not a Jew. What if you're a Jew? Right? Right? So someone asks, well, God doesn't want me to light candles anymore. He wants to take another job. Who says you're allowed to take such a job? You tell me, well, that's a job, so if you're not a Jew, good. So then you don't have a problem. Right? You can light candles, you light it after Shabbos. Right? After Shabbos starts. You won't get in on time. Okay. You're a non-Jew, so it's good practice. Right? But a person, if they want to be a Jew, have to find a job. They get back on time. What do you say? That's the only job I found. So it's the only job you found. That doesn't mean there aren't any other jobs out there. But if you want to be a Jew, you can't do it. Forbidden. It's like someone told me, they weren't a Jew yet, and they told me that they had a meeting that they couldn't get out of. It happened to be the first day of Sukkot. So they know what to do. They couldn't get out of it. So I told them, I got a great idea. I said, go to yeshiva, go to your local funeral parlor, go somewhere and get a Jewish calendar. That's what I told them. Buy a Jewish calendar. I said, how do you not know when the holidays come out? They come out in September. Either beginning of September, middle of September, end of September. That's when they normally come out. Or in October. Either way. You have to know when the holidays are. Yeah, but I didn't know. I can't change it. I said, it's a good thing you're not a Jew. Because if you're a Jew, you can't do it. Forbidden. If it's a way, you minimize desecration of Shabbos. You can get there, you don't have to travel. You don't have to do, any forbidden work or this and that. Okay. There are some ways around. I mean, someone's a doctor, it's a different issue, saving lives, different things are on call, so okay. Right? But taking a job like that at the outset, who says you're allowed to? Who says you're allowed to? Right? Countless interviews and I'm broke. Okay. But if you want to be a Jew, that's not going to work. I mean, just realize. Right? That, God will provide one way or another. Even if a person's in dire straits, doesn't mean you can break Shabbos for it. A person say, it's pikuach nefesh, saving a life. Not in this case. Right? So a person's not a Jew, you don't have a problem. That you don't have a problem. Right? That's not, that wouldn't be an issue. But if, at some point, if a person's going to become a Jew, they can't do that. They say, what if they have no money? So they have no money. You have to find something else. That's the truth. You got to find something else. You got to say, but, I interviewed 100 times. This is the only thing that came through. Okay. It's also a big test. It's also a very big test. But I will tell you, if a person wants to convert, that's not going to fly. That is not going to fly. So that's just something to keep in mind. Someone says, pray to Hashem deliver you from the situation. Yeah. It's like I told this person, they don't want my answer because I was kind of harsh, but I told them, how do you make an appointment, even the one you can't change, if you don't look at the Jewish calendar? Most of the year, it doesn't matter. September, October, it's going to matter. Hanukkah, you're not going to have a problem, right? Passover, you have to look. Passover can be at the end of March, beginning of April, middle of April, towards the end of April. So that you have to look at also. You have to know when the dates are. I told this person, and they were like, they were going bananas, understood. They were going bananas. And I told them straight out, buy a calendar. Get a Jewish calendar and find out when the holidays are. Then you won't make a mistake. But I can't get out of it. That doesn't matter. You're not Jewish now, so it doesn't matter. Right? So you can go. The full heart. It's not a problem, not a transgression. It's nothing. But if you're going to be a Jew, you can't do that. You can't do that. So it's okay. You turn jobs in order to keep Shabbos, but now no longer turn down work. Okay, so I'll tell you that your conversion is going to take longer. That's just what's going to happen, because I don't think anyone's going to convert if you're working on Shabbos. They may give you a time limit, right? They may give you a time limit. It's okay. We'll give you a few months, but I can't imagine they would do that. First of all, they don't necessarily make conditions. Mary's very much against it also, but can't imagine in this case a rabbinical court makes such, a condition, right? So they say, okay, you're not making it. Okay, so don't convert. So then it'll take you longer to convert. But no one's going to convert you. That's a great Shabbos. Shabbos is non-negotiable. It's non-negotiable. It's not a question of being fair or not fair, right? One of the, one of the 10 commandments, right? It's a pretty important command is you got to keep Shabbos. That's one of the commands. It's going to be hard to find a job doesn't make you work on Shabbos. Yeah, not going to be easy. 100% not going to be easy. So, if you're okay with that, conversion is going to take longer. So, understand the conversion will take longer. You just have to understand that. It's a big test. It's a huge test, right? There was a great rabbi I learned every day till 2:00. He told his wife, no matter what happens, do not disturb me, right, till 2:00. So someone comes in one day from somewhere else and say, we have to see your husband, 5 minutes of our time is going to make, tens of thousands of rubles. It's going to make a mint in 5 minutes, 10 minutes maximum. It's going to make a mint. So his wife, said, I can't disturb him. Said, for this? Said, you got to be kidding. He said, for this? Can't disturb him? He said, he doesn't want me to be disturbed. He doesn't want to be disturbed. I can't disturb him. And they left. They were like, they couldn't imagine, right? They left. Her husband comes out from learning, and she tells him what happened. And he's singing and dancing. It's like, I can't believe God thinks my Torah learning is worth 10,000 rubles. I was like, a mint. It made like $1 million in 5 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes, whatever it was. A big test. Sure, it's a big test. It's a test. There's no question. There are two things that are hard in conversion. Most difficult things. One is moving. One is moving to a Jewish community. That's probably the hardest, right? Or one of the hardest. I would put up there also find a job where you don't have to work on Shabbos. The hard thing, right? It's definitely a hard thing. It's a test. That's all I can say. It's a test. I'll tell you a story happened to me. I had a deal in real estate that closed over a festival. Couldn't get a hold of me because I ran to the phone on a festival, right? So they closed the deal. Very good. So the title company calls me, the next, whatever, the holiday was over. And they, they said, well, they put a lot of pressure. They want to close this deal. So they told us, you agreed to take a pay cut. I said, did I tell you I agreed to take a pay cut? These are all non-Jews. Weren't Jews. I said, did I tell you I should take a pay cut? Did you see it in writing? Did you hear my voice say that? No. But they put a lot of pressure. We closed the deal. I said, how could you close the deal without me? Without asking. Yeah, I said, well, we're going to get all you as a holiday, but so what? Say, wait. Right? This wasn't a major deal. This was not a major, it wasn't a, a $50,000 deal. Yeah. So I got shafted thousands of dollars because someone didn't want to wait and they cut me out of it. So what's the lesson? Not to keep Shabbos or keep festivals. The lesson is you were meant to have that money. You need really the money. You're already counting on that money. It's already spent in different places. Very good. Yeah. Would I be allowed to answer the phone to save a few $1,000, make a few $1,000? Absolutely not. No prohibition. That money's tainted. That money got benefit on Shabbos. Can't do that. Forbidden. Yeah. Brothers say you're destitute, you're about to get thrown on the street. God has his ways. Maybe that's what it's meant to be. Maybe a person has to lose everything. I don't know. Right? But he doesn't want you to break Shabbos in order to make money. Regardless. Right? It's a test. That's what it is. It's a huge test. Now, I'm not saying no. But I will tell people as an non-Jew, you can do it. It's not a problem. It's 100% not a problem. If you want to convert, it will be a problem. It will be a problem. So I would say when things become more stable, right? Person has more money. Okay. So, then you do it for something else. In the meantime, you want to do it, but you won't do it as a Jew. Right? No one's going to say it's permissible. You got to be strong over here. And it's hard. No, I'm not saying that. It's a big test. Right? We all have big tests. But imagine, right, use myself an example. Imagine in that case, I would have lost $30,000. $30,000, let's say, because I kept the festival. I'm gonna get that money back at some point, somewhere. You don't lose out. You don't lose out from keeping Shabbos or keeping a festival. You have to have a lot of emunah. 100%. You have to have a lot of emunah. If you take the trouble, they'll be willing to change the schedule. If they change the schedule, good. If they don't, I'm talking about a case where they won't. Let's say they won't. If they decide to tell them, let me leave early on Friday, and I'll work on Sunday. I'll work on Saturday night after Shabbos. Whatever. You make it up during the week, add extra hours. Unless they say no. Yeah. If they allow you to do it, good. If they don't allow you to do it, then you're gonna find something else at some point. Doesn't mean you can't take the job now. You can take the job now. This will push back your conversion. Just keep that in mind. It's a test. It's a big test. Right? Definitely a big test. Let me answer some questions here. Someone asked, so much inside no hide laws, right? That is true. All right, let's go back here 1 second. There's a question here. Somebody asks, do I have to light my own candles, or does it count as meeting the mitzvah if I'm at the synagogue and the candles are lit there? No, you have to light your own, right? A woman or a guy has to light their own, right? It's not enough someone else lights them. If someone else lights them, you have in mind, to fulfill your obligation, okay, but you would have, a guy also would have his own obligation, right? If they're not married. So if a woman's not married, also she has to light her own candles. Can't rely on somebody else, right? If a person knew they couldn't, whatever, could someone else have them in mind? Yeah, I guess they could, right? They just don't get the mitzvah of lighting themselves. That's what I would say. Someone asked, what's the best way to deal with evil inclination? Yeah, walk about it, pray. Because Jewish person told me we're not allowed to admit something is difficult. It's like saving the evil eye about ourselves. I don't know about that. I wouldn't agree with that. Right? If a person spoke Lashon Hara about themselves, good. They spoke badly about themselves. That's another issue. A different issue. Right? There is, it is forbidden to speak badly against yourself also. Right? Lashon Hara. Right? Let's say, but I'm not going to go into that. Who says you're not allowed to admit something's difficult? It could be. Person has a lack of emunah, they have a lack of faith in God, and exactly what they're going through in different things. But Say something isn't difficult. I never heard such a thing. I never heard such a thing. I heard just the opposite. I heard plenty of people, tell me in different situations. I'm glad I'm not you. This is a doozy, right? This is an absolute doozy. Yeah, heard great rabbis say that. It's a big test. They didn't say they didn't say don't admit it's a difficult test. It's a difficult test. Who says you can't admit it? It's like putting an evil eye. I don't think so. I don't think so. You can admit it. As I heard Rapace Crone, it should be well. He once said, I have this test, I'm going to pass it 100%. Who says you can't say the test isn't easy? Right? It's not putting yourself down. You're admitting it's hard. Definitely not putting yourself down. So what is correct? Should I talk about it to myself? Talk to God? Remember one thing. God created an evil inclination. The Gemara says, gave us an antidote. What's the antidote? Torah. Torah is the antidote, but Torah is not the only thing. You need God's help overcoming the evil inclination, even with Torah. So you got to pray. God helps you take away this evil inclination. You got to work on which evil inclination a person has. How are you going to fight against it? What triggers it? Right? And see. Right? And see how you're going to fight against it. Right? It's like a 3-step process. You have to know what it is. You have to know how it affects you, what it does, how it triggers you. Right? Sorry. That's that second thing. Like how it, what triggers you to do it. And then the third thing is once you know how to trigger, what triggers it, how am I going to fix it? Right? That you can role play, that you can think in your mind, well, if this person says this, or this person does that, I do that all the time. Right? I do that all the time. Not so, problem is you're not always successful because then someone says something else, or you're not paying attention and someone hit you with something and then like you got distracted. No, it's not so easy. It's not so easy. I do it a lot. Sometimes it helps. I would say, sometimes it helps, but then I'm like, get you all worked up also. Like I said, prepare for this trip and, see different people. So, I'm prepared for just about what everyone's going to say. Right. And it doesn't mean they're going to say it, or maybe they say it a different way, or maybe they come up with other things. Okay. Right. But it ain't going to matter what I say either way. Right. The only question is, what's the reaction going to be? So sometimes you can overthink the situation, and then brass tacks, when it comes out, when the situation comes up, then you freeze. You don't answer what you're supposed to, or, you just get tongue tied or whatever. Right. That makes life kind of more difficult, so to speak. But yeah, you can certainly talk to God. You can certainly pray, no question. You can say that it's hard. You can be strength, right? 100%. What's the best thing? Is it saying evil eye about ourselves? No, evil eye is something very specific, right? It's about jealousy, right? It's about, wanting something that you don't have. You see someone building, it makes you feel bad because either you can't build or, you don't have money to build or whatever the case is, right? That's not necessarily what this is talking about. This is talking about evil inclination. Evil inclination doesn't make it the evil eye, right? It's two different things. Two definitely different things. But what a person has to do is they have to know what their evil inclination is. They have to know how to fight against it. What are the tools to fight against it, and what triggers it, right? What triggers this? Imagine someone stopped smoking for years. Yeah, let's say for many years they stopped smoking. Very good. Now, what happens? They get in a situation. They get in a situation a lot of, anxiety, stress. Let's say better. Stress. They're under a lot of stress. What does someone do? They go back to bad habits. What's a bad habit? Smoking. What's the first thing they do? They'll light up a cigarette. Why? It's not totally out of their system. It's still there. It's a reaction, right? It's a natural reaction. But you got to fight that natural reaction, even if you're under stress. Now, that's not so easy. So, you got to think in your mind, what if this happened, that happened? See, it's very good. It's very good. You think in your mind, how would I do this? How would I do that? It's a lot more difficult actually doing it. It's a lot more difficult. I've come up with the best lines like 2 days later, where it didn't help me. Where it didn't help me. Okay, we don't always think on the spot. We don't always have the greatest answers. And there were sometimes I came up with great answers and didn't go anywhere. Just went right over someone's head. They're like, aha, and then like, went nowhere. So it's hard, right? I'm not going to say it's easy. It's definitely not easy, but at the same time, you got to see what triggers it, right? What triggers whatever person's going through, and then see how can you stop that. Even if this does trigger, how are you going to react? Right? That you might have to role play, right? And say, okay, if this person says this and that person says that, then like, what are you going to answer? How are you going to feel at that moment? Sometimes we don't necessarily think about it. We just sort of react, and reacting is the wrong thing, right? Because once you have a knee-jerk reaction, you can't take back what you say. That you got to be very careful, because it's very easy, like in the heat of the moment, just go bam, just say something, and then you regret what you said. Once you've already said something, it's very hard to take back because you said it. You can say, I didn't mean it. I should have said it that way. A lot of ways to try and get out of it, but practically speaking, as we mentioned many times, you said it because that's what you feel, right? I told the story before. I'm not gonna say exactly what it was, but I told somebody once, I feel like X. I didn't say I was X. I was very clear. I feel like X. And what did they hear? Oh, so you're like this. I said, I didn't say that. I said, I feel like I'm like this. When that conversation comes up, it hasn't come up in a long time, right? When that conversation comes up, it's the same thing. But I didn't say that. I said this. I shouldn't have said it in the first place. Okay, right? But I said it. I'll never win that argument. Never. Not in 100 years. I'll never win the argument. Damage is already done because you made the statement. And a lot of times, I heard people, tell me the best thing to do is just keep your mouth shut. And that's, if you got a big mouth like me, it's kind of hard, right? And it's, not so simple. I just want to like smack people upside the head and just say, like, come on, really? Like, this is what you got. That's your best shot. Like, and it's hard because you got to sit there and respect, the garbage that people say. And, things that, people say to make fun and, and this and that. Like someone would say, like, like, why can't you stay in this place for Shabbos? Well, I need a place to daven. I need 10 men to daven. A woman, it'd be easier. She doesn't have to daven with a minion. Prayer is something pretty important. Now, some people might, might slack off, and they might say, yeah, I could do this. It's just easier, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Yeah. But someone will say, like, why can't you do this to make life so much easier? Yeah, it would, but I'm not doing it. Why am I not doing it? Because I have to daven with a minion. To find a minion to daven with. I have to go somewhere. Right? If I have nowhere to daven, I'm not staying there. It's not going to be Shabbos stick anyway. Right? That's another issue. Right? For men, it's a much bigger issue. You've got to be in a place where you're walking distance of a synagogue. Right? You want to be in a place where it's a Shabbos atmosphere. Not just people are coming in, going out, this and that. That's, but they don't understand that. What do they understand? This is inconveniencing me. They'll say, okay, it'd be so much easier because all these people want to come see you. Beautiful, that's Shabbos. So you're causing them directly to desecrate Shabbos because they want to see you. That's a problem. Oh, I guess you don't want to see them. It has nothing to do with it. Shabbos is Shabbos. Shabbos comes first. They don't want to hear that. Family comes first. No, it doesn't. Honoring parents comes first. No, it doesn't. People make a big mistake. It's one of the 10 commandments. You're right. So is Shabbos. Shabbos right after that. So if a parent tells you desecrate Shabbos, mitzvah to not listen to them. Mitzvah to not listen to them. You got to do it in a nice way. Right? You got to be respectful. Right? But, you can't just tell them off and say no. But Shabbos comes first. Then you want to tell me that, maybe for the sake of family harmony, not praying with 10 men supersedes this. I don't know about that. I don't know if you have an obligation on that. You wouldn't have an obligation on that. Yeah, it really depends what it is. Right? But if it's about being inconvenienced, it's not an issue. They may not feel good about it. What are you going to do? So by me, it's just damage control. How much can you tick people off in one place? Whatever. Because I haven't changed, you've done this, you've done. It's irrelevant, right? It doesn't matter. Not changing. You got to be strong as fire. Everyone has these tests. right? Non-Jews come to visit you on Shabbos, not a problem. They can desecrate Shabbos as much as they want, not a problem. Might be uncomfortable, but it's not a problem. If a Jew comes to see you on a festival or on Shabbos, and they are desecrating Shabbos, even if they were desecrated anyway, doesn't matter. The fact is they're coming directly for you. If they're coming directly for you, that is forbidden. I had this question once a number of years ago. I want to see my Rebbe about it. It's not a simple case, not a simple situation. Anyway, it didn't happen. But I asked him, what do I do in this case? So he said, oh, you saw what I wrote over here? I said, yeah. See the letters I had with if Chaim Kanievsky's father, blessed memory, the Stipler? I said, yeah. He goes, is that why you're here? I said, yeah. I said, get me out of this somehow. He goes, it's forbidden. So you can't do it. If they're coming directly to see you, that is forbidden. If a Jew, let's say better, they're not going to stay over, they're coming directly to see you, that is forbidden. It's forbidden. So thank God this case didn't come up. Right? But that's what I would have had to say. It's a terrible thing to say. Well, it'd be great to see you, but I can't see you then. But that's the time. It's convenient. I don't care. I don't care if it's convenient. That's nothing to do with being convenient. I can't do that. You want to come before Shabbos? Good. You want to come after Shabbos? Also good. You're too busy doing other things? Okay. Torah's not a pretzel. Torah's not a pretzel. So I guarantee in such a case, I ain't going to come smelling like a rose. Not at all. But what does God want here? What does God want? He wants you to stick up for Shabbos. Listen, if there's a way to compromise, there's a way to compromise. If not, nothing to do. If I can bring 10 people to where I'm going to be, and there's a minion there, and I can read Torah and this and that, even if it's not necessarily Shabbos atmosphere, I could do that. A friend of mine did that once, with his mother. I think his father was still alive. The third one did it with for sure his mother. I don't remember if his father was still alive or not. He brought a minion to his house. Yeah, people stay wherever they stay. Yeah, he wanted to show them what Shabbos was. So he did everything that he could. Okay. This is not the case. This is not the case. You got to go somewhere for Shabbos. Now, what if someone doesn't? What if someone feels, it's better to stay there and not daven with the minion, right, with 10 men? And so that's a bad precedent. That puts you in a bad light. If this person did it, you just don't want to. That's not the issue. How are you going to explain? Some people are more stringent on it, less stringent on it. A person should daven with the minion. A guy's got daven with the minion. So my answer would be, I'm not answering for them. Go ask them. Go ask them why that wasn't important to them. I'm not going to answer that. I could, but I'm not going to. It's their answer. Oh, you're way too stringent. Okay, so I'm way too stringent. Prayer is extremely important. Extremely important. So if you take it very seriously, you don't want to miss one minion. Because you need all the help you can get. Right? Davening by yourself unless you have to. Right? God's going to scrutinize it more. So it's good. I'm going to be in an airplane 1 in the morning. Get to where I need to get to. It's going to be 8 in. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It's going to be a minion on the plane. I have to find a place there. If not, okay, I missed it. I have to pray on my own. Okay, these are different circumstances. Last time I did this, it was beautiful. I went on a Sunday. Got in bright and early. And went straight to minion, 8 o'clock. On a Sunday. It's beautiful. Yeah, I hit it everything in stride. I don't know what's going to happen this trip. I'll see if I hit everything in stride. Or I get a minion on the plane, even better. Get a minion on the plane, not ideal, or the airport or whatever. See, see how it goes. If it doesn't, if it doesn't, doesn't. But there's a different circumstance. You're on a plane, right? This is the time you're going. So, isn't it better to get in different? Yeah, it is. But this is what it is. So you do the best you can, but you don't look for opportunities not to, just because people are going to be upset or, whatever. You can't please everybody. You can't please everybody. And a lot of it is, as I've said before, people do not want to be, discomfort. They don't want to put themselves out. They just don't want, they want things to be hunky-dory. Everything's good. You do this, we do that. There's no problem. We're not inconvenienced. That's the word I was looking for. People don't want to be inconvenienced. I'm gonna have a lot of stories when I get back. Karen, guarantee this is the way it goes. But I'm not asking for it. This is a situation. I could say you don't like it, go eat cocoa. I'm not gonna do that. It's gonna be, nicer. But they're not gonna like it. But you can't please everybody all the time. And I know someone's gonna say, well, these people didn't do it. Aren't they just as religious? They're religious. I'm not saying no. Keep Shabbos, they keep kosher. I'm not saying no. So why don't they pray with the minyan? Good question. I'm not gonna answer that. But it just leaves a bad taste because then people say people do whatever they want. Oh, you want to be more stringent because you don't want to be around. And nothing to do with that. You could stay because this other person's saying no. You have an opportunity to go somewhere, you go somewhere. Even if it's inconvenient. That's what you got to do. Shabbos is Shabbos. If you're a woman, it's a lot easier. You don't have to pray with the minyan. It's a lot easier. Even if it's not such a great investment, you can stay there. Right? It's a lot easier. A guy has to go to, he has to be in synagogue. There's just no way around it. I don't care. You tell me, you could say all the laws are rabbinical. The ability to pray is a Torah obligation. Everything else, the time, the place, whatever, all these things and what you say and how you say it, it's all rabbinical. Good. You gotta say, honoring parents is Torah obligation. Good. Right? Very good. But does one offset the other? Just because, you have an obligation, let's say to honor parents, right? Or honor other people, that goes against the fact that you shouldn't pray with a minyan? I don't think so. I had a question once. Can I go play in a place within walking distance that only has a handful of people that keep Shabbos? Now that's a problem. That is a problem. So in a minyan, you need at least, my Rebbe told me you need 6. If you have 6 that keep Shabbos, you can pray there. He didn't say that's the best thing to do, but you could. If it's going to inconvenience people, you can do that. Well, it didn't happen. Thank God it didn't happen. So I went elsewhere for Shabbos. Yeah. Wasn't great, but it's what I had to do. You do what you can do. And even people are going to say, oh, you make up your own religion, you do this, you do that. Yap. That's what people do. I'll stick up for what I need to stick up for. Otherwise, my answer is going to be, you got a problem, call them. Ask them why it wasn't important to them. I'm not going to answer for them. I could. I'm not going to. Everyone has to answer for themselves. But again, see, this is what a desecration of God's name looks like, even though it's not by definition. It just makes it look bad. Makes it look bad because then they're going to question, say, oh, this person did it, but you wouldn't do it. So it must be, well, so what's going on? They don't understand. They don't understand. Should that person be praying with a minyan? Yes. When I was there 2 years ago, whatever I was doing in the afternoon, that was the most important thing. But one time, my wife and others went somewhere. I had a minyan, I went back. I had nowhere else to go. That's where I went. I don't think I missed anything not going where they went, but still, that's important, right? I mentioned before. We're got an obligation to say the morning's prayer. That's the thing you think about every single day for a year with a parent, right? Or 11 months. If it's a parent, because you have to lead services, you have to say the morning's prayer. If you can lead the services, that's the most important thing every single day. That's the way prayer should be. My obligation, where am I going to be? Where am I going to pray? Here it's easy. I got 50,000 places to go. Even if I miss one place, I can go another place. If I miss another place, I got another place. I got plenty of places. Not a problem. Never been a problem. But you go to places that, you're not really in a Jewish area, like you miss it, you miss it. That's it. But what do you do? What do you do? They don't, at night they don't have a minyan. You don't have a car. So what do? You're stuck. You're not gonna, put yourself in debt, take Ubers all over the place. It is important, but not that important. Right? If you don't have money, then you just pray by yourself. And if you do have money, like, you don't have to go that far. If the closest place is 20 minutes, half an hour by car. Right? Who says you have to go that far to do it? If you have access, you have a car, you can do it. Good. I remember many times I went back to the States. And it's a minute, half an hour away. So no matter what was going on, I left. I was gone for an hour, right? Probably a little bit more. Probably a little bit more. So okay, I can make fun for it, this, that, but what I did. The minute was happy, had an extra person. But that was the closest place. Now, do I have an obligation going more than half an hour away? Probably not. Probably exempt. Probably exempt. Right? So it could be if there were certain things going on, maybe I would have gone, not have gone. Right? Depending if I had to be there. But since there wasn't really that much going on, so it wasn't a problem. I felt it. People said things. What are you gonna do? You never lose keeping Torah. That's the bottom line. But it doesn't mean it's easy. Right? It's a test. Once to be made fun of, say, oh, come on, you have to pray with 10 men. Come on, these people did it. No one does what you do. It's not true. It's not true. They just want to make you feel bad. Right? Do you ever hear of JG? What's JG? Jewish guilt. Right? Jews are very good at giving guilt. Very, very good at giving guilt. I learned a long time ago. Right? This is the rule of thumb I would tell people. Right? And that, based on my own experience for what it's worth, and that is you're not going to please everyone. You're not going to please everyone. You're probably going to take off some people. So I would tell you that the most important person you have to please is God himself. That's what you got to do. You got to do what God says. Now, there are circumstances where, there are circumstances where things may take precedent. Okay. For sake of shalom bias, for sake of family harmony, that may take precedence over certain things. Depends what it is. Depends how important it is. Right? That could take precedence. Okay. But if it's about inconvenience and about people say, well, this is the only time I can come. So, okay. So either come before or come after. That's it. And those are someone they're like, wow, that's such a great idea. I'm like, thank you very much. You can make a compromise. They don't want to, they don't want to. I'm not losing sleep over it one way or another, but I have to do what I have to do in God's eyes. And God says you got to go to shul. You got to be part of a minyan. So, synagogue I'll go to, they'll be very happy I'm there. Right? My 13-year-old son get an extra 2 people. So we're going to help them. Okay. And everything else around it, okay. So I'll get clocked over the head. I'm not gonna flinch from it. I just say this is what it is. Shabbos comes first, and that's it. I wear my hat, go eat kugel. I wear my Trump socks, and everyone will be happy. Yeah, don't think so. Anyway, yeah. Let me see. One second. Yeah, let me see other questions here. Whoops. Yeah, so I'll tell you that, listen, I've seen many times, many times, there are things you can do. There are things you can't do. And sometimes things you can't do, you're going to get yelled at. You might get screamed at, right? You might get screamed at. They're doing it because they care, not because they hate you. They'll say, we just want to see you. I say, great, come any other day. Just don't come on Shabbos. And that's the truth. But there are things I can't do. I want to say, I'd love to say, if I was dressed up as a Sikh, I have an old friend of mine. He's got a brother, tragically, as a Jew, became a Sikh. Yeah, became a Sikh. So he's got like the whole regalia, being a Sikh. Now imagine if I was a Sikh. Some people, I'm not going to say everybody, some Jews probably would have a lot more respect. Probably have a lot more respect. The fact that it's Judaism, and you're ramming it down their throat, telling them what they do wrong, even if you don't say anything, they get offended. They will get offended. The famous story, Rabbi Dr. Twersky, blessed memory, was on the train. Someone comes up to him, it's like, oh, you Orthodox Jews, you do this, you do that. Like they were like cutting them down. And Dr. Twersky says, oh, excuse me, sorry, I'm not Jewish, I'm Amish. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Your ways are so quaint. It's such a beautiful community. And then he started cursing them out in Yiddish, right? Started cursing them out in Yiddish. All of a sudden you say I'm an Orthodox Jew and I'm worth nothing, but if I'm Amish, I'm okay. Like, if you were something else, you're not threatening. If I was a Sikh, people say, oh, he's just a fanatic. He just went into something else. Okay. We guarantee you wouldn't get as much flack. Maybe you would. I doubt it. Because it's not threatening. Like, I'm never going to be that. I would never dress that way. I would never be part of that. Okay. You're right. They wouldn't. But it's not threatening. Not threatening to them. Why is it threatening? Because you're saying what they do is wrong. You say, oh, sorry, I got to go away for Shabbos. You're saying that they don't keep Shabbos right. Or they don't keep Shabbos at all. That's what you're telling them. So it makes them feel bad. That's my fault. Not my fault. Definitely not my fault. That's only putting a stomach block in front of someone. Right? Not at all. It just makes people feel bad. It makes people feel bad because then what are you doing? You distance yourself. Right? You make yourself like even more off limits. Okay, you know what? The Rolling Stones say you can't always get what you want. Can't get what you want. Can't just do whatever you want. You want to, fine. Okay. This you're not doing. This, you got to put your foot down. Say no. You want to come, you come after Shabbos. You want to come, you come before Shabbos. Well, I can't fit in my schedule. This, okay. Be great to see people. You can't see me then. You can't see me. Torah's not a pretzel. Right? It's not I feel like doing it. I don't feel like doing it. Isn't that a test? Wouldn't it be easier just to crumble and say, okay, yeah, I'll stay here. I'll stay here. I'll be part of it. This, that, whatever. Yeah. But then you feel awful because you have to give in. Who says you have to give in? Nobody says you have to give in. But what happens? They put pressure. Put a ton of pressure. And a lot of people crumble out of pressure. Now, trust me, I'm not looking for issues. Got plenty of issues to deal with. That's not one of them. But if it comes up, this is what you have to do. This 100% is what you have to do. Even if you don't come smelling like a rose. Even if people are going to make fun of, oh, it's made up, and this person does this, and that person. No, that's not the issue. You want to know why the person did what they did? Ask them. I do not answer what other people do. I have enough trouble answering for myself. I'm not going to answer for someone else. Right? I'll tell you, this is why I have to be there. That's what I said. I have to be with a minion. There's no minion there. Right? So if there's no minion where I am, I have to go to one. That's what you have to do. And it's like, oh, minion's kind of important. Yeah. But again, you don't want to have any issues. If people see you're steadfast, you're not wishy-washy. You do to the best of your ability where I said you can compromise where you can compromise if you can. I can tell you a number of places I'm not gonna be happy going to, but it is what it is. I wouldn't normally do it, but that's what I'm gonna do. Certain things you can't compromise. There's just no way. And again, you don't come out smelling like a rose. But is the Torah true or it's not true? Or is it make believe? Or I can do whatever I want when I want. It's not true. Can't do what I want when I want. There is room for compromise. Not saying no. It depends where. Depends on the case. And there's some cases you just shrug your shoulders and say there's nothing to do. There is nothing to do. But see, nobody cares. Also, you're in a place, the phone rings, people doing all kinds of, forbidden things. That's not a Shabbos atmosphere. Like, it's not my problem. This is what I do. Good. So I'll go elsewhere. That's not a Shabbos atmosphere. I don't care if some people would do it. That's okay. So they'll do it. But if you got an obligation to pray and, with a minion, and prayer is pretty important. I'm not giving that up. But, you can say your mind was nowhere, you didn't have proper intention. They say, you're right. 100%. 100%. So what? Still got an obligation to do it. Still got an obligation to be the best I can. It's true, right? Not not going to be easy. Definitely not going to be easy, but we live in a cream puff generation. People afraid to stick up for themselves. 100%. You know, it's pretty unbelievable. That people will give in when they're not allowed to. Why? Pressure. There's a lot of pressure. I just realized over the years, at the end of the day, you got to make God happy. You do whatever you can to compromise within reason. I've had a lot of cases, certain things I had to do I didn't like doing, but found a way to do it. I didn't get brownie points. I can tell you that. Didn't change anything. You can tell me, listen, it's going to draw people close because, wow, what an amazing thing. Thank God your Rebbe taught you Torah. Thank God, your parents taught you Torah and this and that. Beautiful. If that's not the case, right? You still say you still got to do it. Depends. It depends what it is. It depends what it is. So you got to say, but you never lose. Keeping Torah mitzvahs, right? You don't. But who said keeping Torah mitzvahs was easy? Life is a test. There are people who don't have these tests. They have other tests. You got people that come from, religious families. Cousins, aunts, uncles, Okay, you have some people who maybe veered off the path, whatever. But you got a whole network. Isn't that a lot easier? A lot easier. A lot easier. They have other, let's say some of them don't get along. They're holding, in different ways and different things. So, one has higher standards than other. There are other tests. There are other tests. The people ask, they want to pick your poison? Which test the person wants? A lot of tests I can say of myself. Even if I did it to myself, but a lot of tests I didn't ask for. There's certain things like, you walk in a room, you get hammered. I didn't open my mouth. I was innocent. Right? I was a victim of circumstance, as so Stooges would say. I didn't ask for it. I understand where it came from. I understand what's behind it. So you gotta expect everything, the kitchen sink as well. But in the end, if you stay strong, people respect it. If you're wishy-washy and you compromise, then people say, oh, you do this, you don't do this, you don't do the other thing. So you have to answer you're a work in progress. You're not perfect. Right? That's what you have to answer. Right? But at the end of the day, you say, I have to get to this point. This is where I have to get to. That doesn't mean it's easy. So everyone should learn from the mistakes I made in the past. Right? But, after the mistakes were made, that was it. I made very clear, this will never happen again. You want to do something like this? Don't invite me. Like, there's no point. I'm not gonna jump through hoops. Definitely not gonna jump through hoops, especially, you're not gonna gain anything from it. If you tell me it's a big outreach opportunity, people are gonna say, wow, I can't believe he came, such an unbelievable. Yeah, they might say it at some level, but nothing changed. You can say, but nothing has to change. Well, why are you doing it? Some things, again, even if nothing's going to change, sometimes you just might have to do it. Sometimes for a family thing, you might have to do it. It's not pleasant. It's not pleasant, but there will be people that will say, they're glad you came. Okay. Right? But a lot of times you're not even going to get that acknowledgement because people will say that's what you have to do. Like, oh, you're such a martyr. They don't know what the issues are. They don't care what the issues are. There's a family thing. You have to be there. Right? So a lot of these things you don't win. Either you don't get what you want, or certainly they don't get what they want. But you try, I would say, you try and compromise as much as you can within reason. Right? Within reason. But if it's not within reason, what can you do? There's nothing to do. Right? I would say at best, it's damage control. That's all it is. And people talk and say things or whatever. So let them talk. right? I never feel I have the an obligation to answer, unless either someone says something below the belt, or I feel I need to stick up for Torah. But most times, people will be impressed by this. I keep my big mouth shut. I repeat that. I keep my big mouth shut because I'm not worth it. Plenty of things I could say. Plenty. Yeah, and the last time I was there, I had plenty of things I could open my mouth. Plenty I could have opened my mouth. Didn't say one word. No point. No one's going to listen. People are going to get offended. And, you're a guest, the boot. So, being politically correct, we have to be. And I thought there, people, few people were talking, blue state, red state, back and forth, this and that. And I was just like, I was waiting. I was just waiting to pounce. Someone looked at me like, just get out of here. Just like, move away. Just move away. Yeah. A million things I could have said. I mean, the whole conversation was stupid. It was ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. Right? Just whatever they were talking about. I would open my mouth. Ooh, fireworks. Fireworks. You don't know when it's not worth it. I learned this lesson the hard way. Very hard way. A person becomes religious at the very beginning, they think they're going to change the world, change people, this and that. Doesn't go. Doesn't go. You make enemies, people think, oh, born again, this, that, it's fanatic, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah. But, you mellow, you get older, this and that, and, you don't get as excited when people say things. It's just, there's no point. Right? There's absolutely no point. It's just that, you got to realize. You got to realize what you're in for. And just because it might be hard, doesn't mean God doesn't love you. This is a big test. The person overcomes the test. In spiritual terms, a huge thing. Right? It's a big thing. Like these things today, wouldn't bother me in the least. Go, pink, stand my ground. They don't like it. Okay. But then, see, the thing is, which I think is kind of ironic, is even if people are against it, okay, so let them talk. Let's hear why they're against it. Let's hear what their argument is. Go on. I'm open for discussion. Nobody wants to have this discussion. They just want to say you're a fanatic and call you names and different things. Why doesn't anyone want to have the discussion? Because what if you're right? What if you answer something they can't answer? Then what are they going to say? It doesn't matter. Whatever, you can say what you want. We can agree to disagree. It's a joke. Right? Right? It's a joke. 100% a joke. So the question is, you got to think. It's under your skin. So I realized over the years, you know what? These people deserve to be in an insane asylum. They have about a 25 IQ. I ain't worried about it. It can be offensive. People say things, isn't that true? But where's it coming from? A lot of times it's coming out of love. It's not coming out of anger. Coming out of hate. It's coming out of love. Right? Still, you have to know how to react also. Not so easy. Because a lot of times it's emotionally charged. Not only is it emotionally charged, they're going to remind, they're going to remember, and I have, people like this, plenty of people guarantee that, I going to speak to when I'm there. They'll reminisce like I was 15 years old, like I was 20 years old. I mean, you see the gray beard. I'm not 20 years old anymore, right? Certainly not. I had people I hadn't seen in many, many years, whatever, a couple years ago, many, many years. Been in contact here and there. Or like some of the conversations, I could have the conversation. So I'm like, really? 30 years later? Yeah. People tell me, different things about different things. I was like, okay. Right, but it doesn't have the same effects. I could have a conversation. I'm a very different person today. Very different person. It's also hard to be the youngest son, and no one's gonna listen anyway because you're younger. It doesn't matter if 2 years younger, 5 years younger. Okay, so this is all part of the test. This is all part of the test. If someone asks a question, I'll answer. If they don't ask a question, I'm not gonna bring it up. I'm sure the biggest question, things will come up about what's going on with hostages and different things like that. Okay. I don't think they'll get into American politics. Guarantee they won't get into American politics, but it's almost like a full letter word. But who knows? Maybe someone will say something, maybe they won't. Whatever it is, right? I could have my Trump yarmulke socks. I could go all decked out. Yeah, that wouldn't go over so well. In some places, it wouldn't go over so well. But you can have some fun with it. But yeah, I'll tell you as I gear up, I'll tell you, I tell you, it's the funniest thing, is just like hearing what people talk about. I always say, you want to hear what the pulse of what's going on in America. You're gonna walk into like Home Depot or Walmart. It's gonna be one of our first stops, probably. Probably it's Walmart. Before actually, first I'll be getting food, but after that, it'll probably be Walmart. So I hear what people are talking about. What's not saying like you're desperately listening, but like you see, and I can tell you, it's very depressing, extremely depressing. Because I see a lot of older people, and like all the friends are dying, and it's a very depressing, type of thing. But like they don't have issues. They're not like spiritually they're dead in many ways. They don't have any, issues like they fire about it. One relative that had, recently passed away in their 90s had a lot of spunk, right? She's the only one, not a lot of people were alive. I felt were alive because like certain things bothered her. Not only bothered her, but she, spoke strongly about it. Everyone else like, okay, whatever, it's a fanatic, whatever. But no one wants to hear. Nobody wants to hear. You can talk about anything else except religion or God. Anything else. Well, maybe not Trump, but you can speak about anything else. Just about anything else. So I'm used to that. So okay. So whatever you talk about, I can chime in here or there or decide not to. Whatever it is. But again, I'm not saying everybody's that shallow. But it's there are some people out there thinking. There are people that think. I met too many of them, but some of them actually do. But it's depressing. That's the only way to that's the only way to say it. So would have made this trip last year, but it was during the war, and I had to move, and I had a daughter was giving birth, so I just didn't work out. So now I'm making this trip now. So see how much trouble I can get into while I'm there. But I told so much I have enough stories for probably another few years. After I sat down there. But anyway, it's gonna be interesting. But yeah, again, all these tests, what is it? It's a test in a person's mood. Anyone can ask the question. Like I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for family to like, ostracize, be ostracized, make fun of, like all these things. You didn't ask for that, right? True. You didn't ask for the process to be so hard. You're right. But it makes us who we are. I've heard someone say, wow, this person's gone through such difficult tests. So, why bother? But this person became so much stronger because of it. Their moon is so much stronger. What came out of them? Look how much stronger they are. That's worth something, for sure worth something. But remember, you want to be close to the king there. As we said, there's reward, there's punishment, there's payback. There's definitely payback, but you got to really be prepared for everything. That's what it is. And sometimes it's easier, sometimes not, and sometimes we are caught off guard. But even if you're caught off guard, remember you got to think at all times, what does the Torah want from me? What's my obligation? Right? These are not easy things. Right? These are definitely not easy things. I had a number of years ago, so a much older relative, woman, she went to give me a hug, and I like just, bowed, took a few steps back, and it was disaster. Disaster. Someone else said something under the breath. I was going to say, if you say something under your breath, make sure you don't hear it. Make sure someone doesn't hear it. Yeah, but like, there's no one situation. What are you going to do? Say I have to, I have to be killed rather than shake your hand, even if you're 90 years old. Like, it's forbidden. 100% it's forbidden. Right? You might have to jump into a fiery furnace before you do it. Right? That's how severe it is. Come on, the person's a dried up old prune. No offense to any dried up old prunes out there, right? People that are extremely old, nothing's ever going to happen. This and that. The fish handshake doesn't matter. It's forbidden, right? That type of blood relative is forbidden. If it's a grandparent with grandkids, it's permissible, right? Anyone else is forbidden. Aunt, uncle, cousins, across the board, forbidden. Forbidden. Yeah, you have to die rather than do it. That's how severe it is. Doesn't matter how old they are. Does not matter. We spoke about the laws of being alone with someone of the opposite sex. No matter how old they are, you don't know what could happen. Rabbis understood that. Well, the story with someone who was very close to Rav Shach, and he said, "Come on, I need this job." And there was a African American woman there. This guy had a lot of kids. And Rav Shach said, "Don't think we know better than the rabbis." He said, "It's forbidden. Come on, I really need the money. Doesn't matter what connection am I going to have." And guess what happened? Ended up marrying this woman, divorced his wife, and the rest is history. Right? Rav Shach said, "I don't," stamped his hand on the, banged his hand on the table. He said, "You think we know better than the rabbis? You want to reinvent the wheel? You think you know better? Okay." Guy got caught. He said, "What connection am I going to have with such a woman?" Guy was learning all day, whatever, strongest yeshiva in the world, one of the strongest yeshivas in the world. What's going to happen? A wife, kids. What's going to happen? What happened is exactly what happened. And that's exactly what Rav Shach said. According to the Shulchan Aruch, he said it's forbidden. We don't know, don't reinvent the wheel. Don't think you know better than the rabbis. People think that all the time. People think, "Oh, can the rabbis do the rabbis? What do they know? Medieval, this, that." They know. They knew the nature of a person. They knew. And it's not something you mess with. You want to mess with it, you think you know better, you'll get caught at some point. You will get caught. And Rav Shach was adamant. You don't go against what they say. They know what they're talking about. They absolutely know what they're talking about. Yeah, and this person paid the price. Paid the price. Everyone thinks like, "Oh, this doesn't apply to me." Right? This will never apply to me. Guess what? It can apply. Better to look stupid in the eyes of man than look stupid in the eyes of God. Right? And then sin in the eyes of God. Better look like a fool. Right? A bunch of people that are speaking Lashon Hara, you sit there like an idiot. You don't say anything. They look at you like it's a dimwit. Right? That's my word. They look at you as a dork, a dimwit, who knows what, fill in the adjective. Right? They make you feel like you know nothing, this and that. Okay. So let them say that. Let them feel that better than you be there saying Lashon Hara with them. Right? That's in the case where you can't escape. Whatever, you don't believe 100% what they say, different things, doesn't matter. The point is, let them say you're stupid, you're an idiot, you're a dimwit, rather than transgress in God's eyes. Right? It's also hard. You want to be the life of the party, you want to hang out with people, this and that, but guess what? A lot of things are saying forbidden. Sometimes you have no choice. Sometimes you have no choice. Right? So the famous story, I think, with Akiva Eger. Akiva Eger was at a wedding. I went to a wedding, and one of the, I don't know, the father of the bride or father of the groom, whatever he's talking, he said like, I know he's talking, it wasn't necessarily Lashon Hara, but it was like Tzonis. It was they were scoffing, like making fun of me, making fun of something, whatever. Rabbi Akiva like turned beat red and like ran out of the home. Right, went into a side room and like berated himself. What did he do that he was obligated to hear this? What sin did he did? Because the question comes up quite a bit, place where I work or whatever, it usually happens, at workplaces. A lot of times, people curse, people speak Lashon Hara, even non-Jews, okay, even though they're not obligated. Very good. So people ask, why did I have to hear this? Why in the world did I have to hear this? Cursing, Lashon Hara, all the good stuff. So they ask, why did I have to hear it? So I saw brought down, just like Rabbi Akiva Eger said. What was the reason they had to hear it? It must have been they did something wrong. It must have been some sin that caused them that. It didn't happen by osmosis. Good to say, okay, it's a test. You're right. A lot of things in life are a test. But something like that happens, you're in a certain situation, this happens, it's because you must have done something to cause it. What did you do? Can't answer. But must be something like that. Must be something like that. Somebody imagines also, something hard being Hispanic, everyone hugs and kisses, right? It's not, it's, again, even if it's a fish handshake, even if it's just like, whatever, a little kiss on the cheek, that doesn't mean anything. You'll say it doesn't mean anything, right? Never going to lead to anything, right? Doesn't mean it's not forbidden, right? Again, you're going to say things, oh, come on, you're so religious, you're such a fanatic, like, oh, what do they have? Cooties? They say, yeah, probably. They probably took a shower today. Okay, maybe. So what? You try and laugh it off. A lot of times, I'll try, probably people can't imagine this. I try to blow it off, make light of it, different things. Sometimes it goes, sometimes it doesn't. I had a relative once, somebody that, was like, told me straight out, listen, it was a woman. I said, they told me straight out, if I come and see you, you don't give me a hug and a kiss, don't even bother. Like, don't even bother. I said, I said, the last time I ever danced with someone of the opposite sex, was, at a certain wedding, the last one I danced with. I said, after that, there was no one better, right? No one better I could have danced with, I could have hugged. There's nobody better. Got shot for saying that. That was a good line. I thought it was like, a good brush up, good, sucking up a little bit. Doesn't matter. You don't give me a hug and a kiss. I understand where it comes from. They want to show affection. Very good. I'm not again, it's a good thing, but it can't be done. I thought that was a great line. I thought I got hammered for saying that. I don't care. Okay. When I was being open-minded, what happened to respect? Respect goes out the window. They do what they want. Again, where's it coming from? It's not coming from hatred. It's coming from a place of love. They feel bad. They want to give me a hug. Okay. I'm gonna give you a doll. You can hug my wife. I told that to someone last time I was there. He said, you won't even let me hug you. I said, here's my wife. Here's as many hugs as you want. Then hug her till tomorrow. So my wife said, sorry, I put you out there. I said, hug her till tomorrow. You're a nut. You're a fruitcake. Okay, like, what are you gonna do? But where's it coming from? It's not coming from anger, per se. It's coming from love. They want to show affection. I understand that. But guess what? You got to jump in a fiery furnace first. Got to give up your life first. They'll say, I'm 92 years old. I'm 3'4". Can't even see over a driving wheel, right? Steering wheel. You think anything's going to happen? These laws are crazy. Okay, like, move on. But where's it coming from? It's not coming from hatred. It's coming from, they have affection. They want to show, that's how people show affection. Okay. In our circles, that's not what we do. Now, a person can say, maybe in a modern Orthodox circle, people do that. Okay. Not going to answer for them, but it's forbidden. That's totally forbidden. And you may never win that argument. You may get made fun of, and they'll think it's all these old laws, and it doesn't make sense, blah, blah. But again, it's not really a thought out thing. It's based on emotion. And the emotion is telling you, I can't believe you wouldn't let me give you a hug and a kiss. Okay. You can't believe it. But it happened. Right? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to look bad. And they'll say it makes the Torah look bad. And they'll say people pick and choose. And people, okay. I'm not going to answer these things because these things are not statements. They're not questions. They're statements. And I think there's like, okay, is it really thought out? Do you have any sources to back it up? Any midrashim, any Gemara, something? No. It's based on emotion. I get it. Doesn't mean it's right. Does not mean it's right. But people have to know what the truth is. I can see my Rebbe shaking his head like, no, can't do it. It's forbidden. So you hold your hands behind your back, you bow like the Japanese. You say, I only hug ugly women. Sometimes that goes over, sometimes it doesn't. You try. But you say, I'd love to, but I can't. Sorry. I think non-Jews a certain way understand this better. Right? So, it's a holy man, doesn't touch women, whatever. They may think it's crazy also, but like, I think they'll respect them more than Jews do because they're going to say, It's a crazy thing. Where do they get that from? Doesn't say anywhere in the Torah. Yeah. All of a sudden everyone's like, knows the Torah backwards and forwards. Doesn't say that anyway. Oh, really? All right, let's have a discussion. Somebody pointed out, just want to mention, somebody pointed out that, where is it? Where is it? Someone here says this part where it's talking about forbidden relationships, we're going to go through further, right? Has a profound impact to his generation, so much how it's compared to when it was written. Nothing has changed. We're not living in Victorian England. Something, this has not changed. It's still the greatest desire a person has, right? Regardless of whether someone's a dried up prune or not. That doesn't matter. That's showing respect for the opposite sex. So many people, women, go in the workforce, they make clear straight away their boundaries, what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do. That's it. So listen, I can't argue. Not going to give you a kiss. Not going to this. Not going to that. You just have to respect my boundaries. Now, might be awkward, this and that, but in the end, they hold fast to it. So there's respect. 100%. There would be respect for that. Because you hold by something. You're living by something. Not just you're making it up as go along. You're consistent. That's the most important thing. You got to be consistent whether people like it or not. People gave up on me a long time ago. So, well, you're never going to change. Thank God. Give up. I won that war. Give up. They say you're not going to change, right? I had somebody once tell me, I made a comment about something. Oh, that's the old person we remember. I'm like, I haven't changed. Hey, personality, certain ways has changed. Yeah, but overall, still the same person, essentially. Right? But they want to remember you back in the day. Back in the day, you did this, or you did that, or you did that, but you're not the same person. Knowing that, I was like, oh, remember 35 years ago, we did this, it's 35 years ago. A long time ago. Yeah. You think I'm the same person? You're not the same person. But people want to remember you back as whatever. Okay. Now, that leads me to believe, and I'm going to see this quite a bit, that's going to lead me to believe, and that's why I want to make this conclusion, that people like that are probably not growing so much in Judaism. Because they're still doing the same thing. Maybe some more, some less, maybe some people have given up certain things. Okay. But essentially, they're the same. Haven't changed that much. Now, how do you know? I don't know. I don't know for sure. I say, well, how can you judge it? I'm just telling you what I see. What people say. I had somebody tell me, or I saw what someone put up a while ago, that, the synagogue that we went to, when I was a kid, we helped run the services. It says every time he goes there, he feels like he's at home. Now, I was bar mitzvah more than 40 years ago. 40 years. And synagogue's like on its dying legs, right? It'll probably last another few years, maybe, right? So, but this is where I feel comfortable. Now, what would that tell you? Like the atmosphere, like the people there. Well, what has changed about the place in 40 years? Are there classes there? There's inspiration there. We're going through basically the same, same service, same kiddush, different people there. What has changed? If not much has changed, there's a problem. There's a serious problem. Now, people say, well, they're not the same person they were 40 years ago. Good. You have ups, you have downs, different things. But, someone walks into a place, oh, this is just as good as it was when I was 13. That's a problem. Spiritual terms. That means there's no growth, or there's very little growth. Now, that is truly sad. 100% that is sad. Now, how can I judge that? Because that's what I hear. That's exactly what I hear. There are all these people taking, health education classes, right? Some people, I've heard over the years, very few, want to learn more about their heritage, learn more about this, more about that. No, not at all. So what does that lead me to believe? They're spiritually dead. That's what it leads me to believe, unless proven otherwise. Oh, I don't have to be religious like you. Okay. So in the last 30 years, taken any religious courses, any, even bad ones. And the vast majority of people are going to say no. That's what they're going to say. They haven't learned anything. They think they know. They think they have. They read a little article here, a little bit this. Do they take any classes, adult education? No. That's the majority of people. So I would conclude, if that is the case, they probably haven't grown so much in the last 40 years. That's my guess. Now, you can say, what's going on? Maybe they have. You're right. If someone doesn't take classes or they're not trying to learn or this and that, there are some people that are. Right? I do know a few people that are. Okay. Everyone else? Probably not. Right? That's, you say you can't judge people. That's not judgment. Right? To me, that'd be fact. That 100% would be fact. It's a sad fact. Very sad fact. Right? So this is me like psyching myself up, all my energy psyching myself up for the travesty they're gonna see. That's what it's gonna be. Some be better, some worse, whatever. Everyone has their own test. It's a hard thing to see. That's all I can say. It's a hard, the whole thing, it's a hard thing to see. But I'll tell you that even as depressing as it would be, I would tell you I would kiss the ground every day. I'm where I am. Not physically, but what I've learned, how I've grown spiritually. Okay, made mistakes, made plenty of mistakes, still make plenty of mistakes. Got a lot of room to grow, but thank God I'm not there. I'm not just doing the same things everyone else is. And you haven't learned anything from it. You haven't grown from it. That is truly sad. That means you're spiritually dead. That's what it means. That means, well, I'm the same as I was 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I'm happy being mediocre. Go to a job interview. You want, tell me you're mediocre in everything you do. You won't get hired. So these people are spiritually dead. Doesn't matter if they go to a synagogue once in a blue moon, get the bar mitzvah, this and that. But what have they learned? What in the world have they learned in the last 20 years, 10 years, 5 years? What have they learned in adult education? Nothing. Zero. Yeah, they know what a Passover Seder is. Okay. They really know what it is. They really know, what a lulav is and what it means to shake it and where it's going. And they have no clue. None. And this will go on for the next generations. And the kids will get less of it. And their kids will get less of it until they basically disappear. And it's a very sad reality. I've seen people I hadn't seen a couple of years ago, seen or spoken to in, I can't even tell you how many years. I'm not going to tell you how many years, but whatever, a lot of years. A lot of years. And all I can say is that it's very sad. It's very sad to see. Again, I'm not going to say by everybody overgeneralize, but it's a lot of people. I think it's a lot of people that, if I would take a survey of people that, I grew up with, that have taken adult education classes, forget after bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, right? In their 20s or 30s. Taking any adult education in Judaism, it's probably a very low number. Extremely low number. The joke is, I shouldn't say it's a joke, it's really sad. A Jew could use their Hebrew name 4 times in their life. When they're born, bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, when they get married, when they die. That's it. Right? Next up, assimilation. That's what it is. Very hard to see. Right? But again, what's my goal? My goal is to make the biggest Kiddush Hashem you can. My kids, my spouse, do whatever we can. And that's it. And things we can't do. Whatever. Last trip I got an A+. Definitely got an A+. Did exactly what I needed to do. Spoke to people I needed to speak to. Saw people I needed to, It doesn't mean it wasn't depressing. Trust me, it was depressing. Right? Definitely depressing. But, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So even if it's, even if it's depressing, but you got to stand your ground. right? You got to pick your issues. You got to stand your ground, even if you don't look good, right? Even if you don't come out smelling like a rose. Because again, there are many times I will never come out smelling like a rose. Never. Never going to happen. So what do? You do the best you can do. God will take care of it. He's in charge, right? He's definitely in charge. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop here. I do this every Sunday, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 4 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Mike Chaim Coffin, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Q&As. That's my father. Book Leviticus. You want to send me an email, rabbichaimcoffin@gmail.com, RBBICHIMCOFFMAN at gmail.com. Next week, I would assume there won't be a class. At that hour, I don't think I'll be around. But probably the week after I'll go back to normal. But I'll put up something in either case. Otherwise, I'm gonna sign out. Wish everyone a good